You know the story, right? We've all seen it a million times. This person, totally broken and lost, is suddenly rescued by someone else who just magically waltzes into their life and fixes everything. It's a nice thought, a comforting story we see in movies and read in books. But here's a question. What if that story, that whole idea, is actually setting us up for a lifetime of just waiting? Waiting for a hero who's never going to show up? Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? But that quote right there is the absolute core message from Renuka Gavrani's work, The Art of Being Alone. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We're going to break down her powerful argument for how you can stop waiting for that savior and instead become your own. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll uncover something called the loneliness trap and figure out why it's so darn powerful. Then we're going to redefine what it even means to be alone and flip it from a weakness into a major strength. After that, you'll see how solitude can actually be your secret superpower. And to wrap it all up, we'll give you a super practical action plan to make all this your new reality. Sound good? Let's go. Okay, let's dive right into part one, the loneliness trap. I mean, why do we wait for a savior? Why does being alone feel so scary for so many of us? And where do we even get this idea that we need someone to come rescue us in the first place? Well, a big part of it is this dangerous script we get from the media. And believe me, this narrative runs way deeper than we think. I mean, from the time we're kids, we're fed these stories where a broken protagonist is made whole by someone else. And without even realizing it, we subconsciously start waiting for our own savior. We start to believe we're not enough on our own, that we're somehow incomplete. We basically become passive characters in our own lives, just waiting. And the craziest part? When no one comes, that loss feels real. It feels profound, even though we're mourning someone who never even existed. And here's the real kicker. The real pain? It isn't actually the absence of people. It's the absence of yourself. Think about it. That emptiness we feel isn't just because we're physically alone. It's because in our desperation to fit in, to not be seen as the weirdo eating lunch by themselves, we start chipping away at who we really are. We say yes when we mean no. We pretend to like stuff we can't stand. We literally lose ourselves in the process. That absence of self, that's the true source of loneliness. So, how do we break out of this trap? Well, it all starts with redefining the terms we use. Let's talk about the difference between a cage and a home. We throw around words like loneliness and solitude, like they're the same thing. But Gavrani argues they are worlds apart. One is a cage, and the other is a home. And this right here just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got loneliness, the cage. It's this painful feeling of lack, right? It feels like a punishment, like you're disconnected from yourself. But then you have solitude, the home. That's a chosen state of fulfillment. It feels like a privilege, a moment where you are deeply connected with yourself. See the difference? One is something that happens to you, the other is something you choose. Now, this whole journey towards solitude, it's powered by real self-love. And look, we're not talking about bubble baths and face masks here. Nothing wrong with those, but this is deeper. Gavrani defines it as the radical act of knowing and accepting your entire self. And yeah, that includes the parts you've been taught to hide, what she calls your dark side. Because let's be real, society puts this immense pressure on us to be good all the time, right? Always be kind, always selfless, always smiling. But it's exhausting. And it's not real. We all have moments of selfishness or anger or pettiness. Accepting your dark side isn't a flaw. It's what makes you human. And embracing your full humanity, that's where real peace comes from, not from this constant, tiring performance of being perfect. Okay, so we've established that solitude isn't a punishment, but what if it's actually a superpower? What if it's a secret of geniuses? This is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at how some of the greatest minds in history didn't just tolerate being alone, they actively sought it out. And we're talking about some serious heavy hitters here. Look at Georgia O'Keeffe. She literally left the chaos of New York City for the desert, and that's where she created her most iconic work. Or Nikola Tesla. He was convinced that real originality, real invention, could only happen in seclusion, far away from outside influence. And even Vincent van Gogh, who we know struggled deeply, used his time alone to pour his deepest feelings into his art. They all harnessed it. And that brings us to a really powerful modern truth. Think about our world right now. It's just endless notifications, pings, and distractions, right? In a world like this, the ability to truly focus is the new luxury. And solitude, That is the absolute key to achieving it. All right, so the theory makes sense, but how do we actually do it? How do we take what feels like empty alone time and turn it into a period of massive growth? Let's get into your action plan. Okay, the system is awesome because it's so simple. Step 1, identify. And listen, don't try to fix your whole life at once. That's just a recipe for burnout. Instead, pinpoint the one biggest issue that causes you the most stress, just one. Step 2, act. Create one small daily action goal to tackle that one thing. I'm talking tiny. And step 3, this is the secret sauce, enjoy. Design that action in a way that feels energizing and fun for you. It shouldn't feel like a chore. And this isn't just some abstract theory. Here's a real example from the author herself. She was at a really low point, jobless, depressed, full of self-doubt. Her one big issue, her career. So what was her one small action? She committed to writing one article a day. That's it. It wasn't glamorous, but guess what? 10 months later, she had built a whole new career. It just goes to show you, small, consistent actions create massive change. So the goal here is to make your alone time addictive, to turn it from something you just have to get through into something you actually look forward to. So how do you do that? You fill it with purpose. Learn that skill you've always been curious about. Feed your brain with amazing books and podcasts. And hey, stop waiting for someone else to go to that cool restaurant or a museum with you. Take yourself on a date. The key is to intentionally create multiple sources of joy in your day that are just for you. So let's bring it all home. The hero of your story isn't coming. They're already here. We started this whole conversation talking about that old story, the one about waiting for a savior. But the final plot twist, the big reveal, is that the hero you've been waiting for, they were never on their way. They've been here the whole time. It's you. So, are you ready to write your own script? Because that old script, the one society gave us, it's all about waiting. But the new one, it's all about acting. You're the main character. You're the director. You are the writer of your own story. So the only question left is, are you ready to pick up the pen?